From Olympic City and the home of Pikes Peak, this is the Automotive ADHD Show. All right, here we are rocking it for another weekly edition of the Automotive ADHD Show. My name is Matt West, and I am here to talk to you today about cars. Yeah, well, it's kind of in the name of the show. Now, we've had more snow and cold this week here in Colorado. I haven't been out driving very much, not doing too much car stuff. I have been in the garage, though, doing tons of things, making great progress on the new Automotive ADHD project car, the Barn Find AE86. It's really cool. I have some updates on it for you, but first, we got a loaded show today. Loaded show. Going to be talking about the Bronco Raptor. That is the biggest, most hyped piece of news so far. Also going to be hearing from a former Top Gear Stig, and I am going to be announcing this month's winner in the Car Sound giveaway. Yes, and that could be you. That is going to be in the third segment of the show. You got to stick around for it. Now, with the Automotive ADHD project car, I don't have a good name for it yet. It is an AE86. It is a hatch. It's missing some minor things, namely the engine and transmission. But, you know, it's not terrible. The body's straight. It's not rusty at all for an AE86. And I mean, I've been around a lot of those, and let me tell you a thing about rust. But that said, I asked on the Automotive ADHD Facebook page, facebook.com/Automotive ADHD, what engine I should put in it within reason, you know, stuff that I have the availability and the skill to put into this car. And some of the options listed there with the Toyota 4AGE Blacktop. That's the 20-valve last generation of the 4AGE. It's got individual throttle bodies. It is a beautiful engine, and I've done that swap already on another AE86. So, you know, I got familiarity going for it. I know the platform. I mean, I could do that swap in my sleep, basically. Alternatively, the other option, Honda F20C out of a Honda S2000, 9,000 RPM, 2 liters, 240 horsepower, great engine. They are exorbitantly expensive, and they're very hard to fix when they break, but I do have one coincidentally sitting in my garage, and no, I didn't pay market value for it. I've had it for years. I've had it before they were unobtainium, but I have that, and I was like, well, maybe I could put that in the car. Or here's another idea, OBD1 Kenobi. You also know him as Mechanic Brian. He's been on the show several times, and he's a Volvo technician, and he's got a ton of Volvo engines sitting in his garage, as well as an insane amount of knowledge on these platforms, namely the T5 platform, which is Volvo's all aluminum head, aluminum block, 5-cylinder, dual cams. It's really a cool engine. It's factory turbocharged, and these engines are dirt cheap. Now, I was looking into the specs on some of them, about 250 horsepower, factory turbo, like I said, and they're lightweight. In fact, they weigh about as much as the original 4AGE that would have been in that AE86, yet they make like 100 horsepower more. Factory, that like a well-tuned 4A is going to make like 220 horsepower, like at max. That is naturally aspirated, at least. That is max. But these Volvo engines, come on, 250 stock, and there's all that room for growth. So the good news is, and Alan on the Facebook page, Alan also commented on that, said the Volvo engine is a great idea. He's a bit of a Volvo connoisseur, and I am happy to report that is what's going to happen to this car. And I'm committed. The bell housing has already been sourced, and OBD1 Kenobi has generously donated a T5 5-cylinder white block. Now, all we got to do is find a transmission, figure out how to put it in the car. I don't even know if it's going to fit yet, but I'm not going to know till I try. So anyway, about less than $100 has been spent so far. So that's a little bit of the update on this stupid project. I hope you do follow along with it. It is going to be really fun. And if you're curious, I do have some photos of it on the Facebook page. Now, ladies, gentlemen, AMC Pacers, let's talk about the biggest piece of automotive hype all week, dare I say all year. Well, I mean, we're still into the first month of the year. That might be a bit generous, but the Ford Braptor, or wait, it's not called that. It's called the Ford Raptor. It is the Bronco Raptor edition. Yes. The Bronco was released recently and has had huge success. I mean, tons of people foolishly paying well above MSRP for it, for base models too, I should add. And it does have a really cool pseudo-retro design. I really like the way it looks. Maybe not so much the base model, but like the higher trim ones. They do look really good, and I actually like them quite a bit. I'm not a Ford guy, but these are cool. And it's also the first Jeep competitor in decades. So, and proper competitor at that, too. I mean, it's really going toe-to-toe with the Jeep Wrangler, which has just lived competition-free for like 20-plus years, if not more than that, honestly. Now, the Raptor models in Ford's lineup usually have been exclusive to the F-150s. You would have the F-150 Raptor, and the Raptor, of course, is their top trim, their bestest off-roader ever. It's got tons of off-roading equipment, and it's a little bit different than a traditional off-roader in the sense that it's made to go off-road fast. Jeeps are made to go off-road kind of slow, do rock crawling, that sort of thing. The F-150 Raptor was the closest thing you could get to a factory, Baja 1000 truck, essentially. Now, granted, real Baja trucks are way different, custom ground-up builds. But, it's a car that's designed to go off-road very fast, do very big jumps, and they're advertised as being able to do jumps. And this is a really popular segment of the market now, and that's evidenced by the Ram TRX as well, which was built to compete with the F-150 Raptor. Well, now Ford has taken this already successful Bronco. I mean, the Bronco has been massively hyped. They've taken that and they've made a Raptor version, which means it's got all sorts of goodies. It's insane. It's wide. It's powerful. It's opulent. It's wide. Did I say wide? Yeah, it's massive. It's got these huge black plastic fender flares. They extend nearly a foot from the body, and the whole truck is practically fender flare, in my opinion. I mean, like, it really is. I mean, would you like some Bronco with your fender flares? Because those flares are huge, and I can't say I'm actually a fan of how they look. They're big. They are functional. I'll give them the functionality point there, but they don't look very good, and I feel like Ford could have done something different to make those flares look like the actual Baja truck that Ford is racing, which is a Bronco Baja vehicle. And again, Baja's being the, off-road high-speed race that has been run for years through the desert. Now, and Ford does have a purpose-built Bronco. I say Bronco in air quotes because it's basically a fiberglass Bronco body on top of a custom chassis, but whatever. It's a Bronco. But the way they did the fender flares on that machine would look a lot nicer than what Ford has done with these big plastic fender flares tacked onto the new Bronco Raptor. And I get the reasoning for that. I get the reasoning as, manufacturing and production costs. And, they probably did a cost analysis. They could probably do the fender flares like the actual race truck version, but it probably wouldn't be all that profitable. And it would probably jack the price of this thing way up. And, they wanted to undercut this thing underneath the top trim Jeep Wrangler, which is the four-door Rubicon 392 for the 392 cubic inch V8, which is very cool. And I will say, car and driver writer Ezra Dreyer, by the way, called these fender flares. Get this. He called them the automotive equivalent of 1980s shoulder pads. Yeah, that's honestly pretty good. Or should we call them shoulder flares? Maybe that's a new thing, a new style trend. Yeah, if it is, you heard it here first. So that said, I can't think of a better way that Ford could make these flares look better. I don't really think so. Not within probably keeping into their production constraints. They even said in a press release that one of the reasons the fender flares aren't paint matched to the vehicle is because they would have to retool their whole assembly line and their whole paint booth system in order to do that. Now, why you don't just paint them separately from it and then stick them on, I don't know. Maybe no one told them that, but it's probably some reason. Though you will hear people say, oh, it was too big to paint. That's how wide it was. No, that's not true. Ford just didn't want to spend the money to paint it. So, baloney. Anyway, the truck is cool. It's on 37-inch tires from the factory. That is insane. I mean, I don't think I've seen bigger than a 35-inch tire on a factory machine. It's got 13 inches of suspension travel, to get you up those steep mall curbs in the parking lot. And it's got a 3-liter turbo 6-cylinder V6, and that's from the Explorer XT. And that is a modified version of that engine. And they haven't released the official horsepower numbers, but they said it's over 400. So, which might be why they're not talking about V8 stuff. Just saying, because that's already a really powerful Turbo 6. But anyway, more on that later. Now, the frame has also been completely reworked and doesn't share a ton of parts, actually, with the regular Bronco's frame. They changed everything from bracing in the frame to the actual shock towers. These are all new parts that are factory welded onto this frame as it's being built. So it's not exactly feasible to just replicate a Bronco Raptor, like, oh, buy a base trim one and you'll go modify it to be a Bronco Raptor. There have been some substantial changes to the frame to make this machine possible. And it also has extra reinforcement all over it, including on the roll cage to keep this thing stiff. They wanted you to be able to run this with the roof off, the doors off, and still bomb around in the desert, which is a lot of fun. They wanted you to be able to do that. So, and this truck is going to be at about the $70,000-ish mark, which again, they're going for the Jeep market here. You know, sure, they could have made the fender flares different. They could have made it look all these different ways, but you know what? They were trying to probably keep it to that $70,000 price tag because the Jeep, the V8 392 Rubicon retails at about $74,000. And you're getting about the same amount of power in this Bronco Raptor, even though it's not a V8, it's a Turbo 6. And the reason, they haven't officially said the reason for the V6 and not the V8, but it's speculated by a lot of big sources that it's probably because of packaging constraints with these new shock towers that they had to put into this thing. And that robs clearance in the engine bay. Or either that, or they're just going to make a V8 version later with like a Coyote Ford V8. That would be cool. That would be cool. Just saying. Again, the Bronco has been a massive sales success. The previous F-150 Raptors have been a massive success as well. I had some extensive driving time in one of them too. A friend of mine used to have one, and a second generation Raptor. And God, that's a cool truck. I can't say I'd want to own it, but you can absolutely do any Jeep trail thinkable at like 60 miles an hour, assuming the trail's wide enough to fit the truck. Yeah, but the suspension on it is insane. And you combine these two major drivers of sales, right? The Raptor and the Bronco, and you combine them to make the Braptor. I like calling it that. I think that's the best way to call it, but it's going to be insane. Like, Ford's going to sell a ton of these. There's no question about it. I think they've absolutely knocked it out of the park as far as sales are concerned, or future sales, rather. And I think they're winning right now. Jeep doesn't have something that is quite on par with the capability of the Bronco Raptor. And, again, Jeep makes great machines. I'm a fan of them. I own two of them, but the fact is that, I mean, look, the Raptor and the Bronco both are major hype machines. This is going to be the talk for pretty much the next year. But that said, I will stick to my $800 stroker Jeep. Thank you very much. It'll be nice to see these Broncos after the $50,000 dealer markups go away. Just throwing that out there. So, hey, now coming up in the next segment, I have a special sound clip for you. We're going to hear from former Top Gear Stig and racing car driver Paul Gerard. I promised this last week, and I'm going to deliver on that promise. You got to stick around. That's in just a minute.
And now for how things work with an engineer.
Transmissions. Shift.
And that was how things work with an engineer. For more of how things work, go to patreon.com/throttlewarrior.
Yeah, there we go. That's Arturus and his 1999 BMW 328i. Gotta love the sound of a nice, smooth BMW straight six. I would say one of the best sounding modern European engines, in my humble opinion. I am a sucker for straight sixes, whether they're Japanese or whether they're German. I think they're fantastic. And now that could be your car sound on the show. Email your car sounds to matt@throttlewarrior.com, or you can post them on the Automotive ADHD Facebook page, facebook.com/Automotive ADHD. And stick around for the third half of the show, because I'm going to announce the winner of this month's car sound giveaway. That's right. If you do send your car sounds in, you will be entered for a chance to win in a drawing for some really cool stuff. You got to stick around. I got more details on that coming up. But anyway, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about GM's new electric vehicle Silverado. And they announced it to much fanfare. But I joked at the time that, by the time this EV Silverado makes production, Elon Musk will have announced yet another Cybertruck delay because, that truck has been delayed massively. And I wasn't really being all that serious. I wasn't, but here we are. Here we are. That's the funny thing. This is way sooner than I thought. The EV Silverado isn't even actually close to market yet. And a couple days ago, Elon said that, nope, the Cybertruck will not be available in 2022. And he's saying now, hopefully 2023. Hopefully, that sort of verbiage really instills confidence in people who put money down to reserve their spots for this truck. I'm just saying. Now, this can't be all that good for customer morale, honestly. I know folks who own every Tesla product. They love them. They have their reservations, and they're plenty serious about buying the truck. They just, would like to buy it. More importantly, they're getting antsy. They're like, come on, where's the truck at? If this truck doesn't come out, I'm going to have to buy something else. So, yeah, they want their trucks, Elon, just saying. GM, Ford, Rivian, they've all been able to get these electric trucks into production, to announce them and actually start producing them. Now, obviously, we don't have the Ford F-150 Lightning or the GM, the Chevy Silverado EV in customer hands yet, but they're actively producing them. They're actually working on them. And they're major manufacturers, and when they say they're going to release a car, they usually tend to do it. And Rivian has beat everybody by being the first to get a truck like that to market, and initial reviews are honestly pretty good. We don't know long-term reliability on these, but initial reviews are sounding pretty good. Now, will the Cybertruck really be that much better than the competition? I don't know. I won't say it's going to look better than the competition. I'm not going to go that far, but, for the wait, people are going to be waiting so long to get their hands on these trucks. And is it going to be any better than if they just bought the GM one? I don't think so. And I especially don't think so because these are EVs we're talking about. They're all soulless and characterless, and you're going to have no difference driving a Chevy one versus a Ford one versus a Cybertruck one, Tesla one. You're not, because electric motors have no character. Just saying. In my opinion, the feel of these trucks will be down to the suspension and the interior, and that's about it. You don't have that character of an engine, and I think that is tragic. Just my 2 cents there. So now, speaking on delivering promises, I promised last week that my brief interview with former Top Gear Stig and racing car driver Paul Gerard, I promised that I would dig that audio up and play at least a sliver of it. And last week I was talking about Pikes Peak hill climb racing, which is fitting since I live in the shadow of that very mountain. It's right here in Colorado. And a couple of years ago, I was out with some media people at an event doing interviews and stuff like that. And ran into Paul Gerard, and he spent, this is where it's kind of tragic. He spent his whole day, hours doing media interviews, talking to people, socializing. Everyone was constantly berating him, asking him, what do you think the car's going to do up the mountain? What are some challenges you're going to face? All this and all that. And then here I come along, and I'm like, gosh, what can I ask him that he hasn't already been asked today? And I was like, what kind of toothpaste do you use? And let me just roll the clip. Here's his answer.
No, I have no preference, whatever. Yep. Is it minty and can I brush my teeth with it? Yeah.
Basically, you do the checkered flag faster? Basically, yes.
Yeah, we don't think about things like that with much intensity.
Yeah, there you go. I know what you're thinking, right? You're thinking, man, you had the ability to ask the Stig from Top Gear anything in the world, and you asked that. Yeah. I did. I absolutely did. And but it does go to prove that the Stig, actually, he does have a mouth, he has teeth, and he likes to keep them clean. And no, he does not think that having clean teeth makes you any faster. So there you go. You didn't ask for that audio clip. Neither did Paul Gerard ask to be asked that question. But here we are. Here we are. I actually, I kind of feel bad. I could, looking back at some of that audio, I could tell he was just trying to be nice and not punch me in the face while I was asking him questions. So, yeah, I do envy his lifestyle, though. The dude spends his time driving professionally. He teaches professional driving. He writes books, and he races Pikes Peak in his free time. That's really cool. I mean, that sounds like a ton of fun. Would I do that? Absolutely. But I'm also not quite as much of a driver, not yet at least, as he is. Still working on that. Not quite the Stig, far from it. But yeah, there you go. Now, I will also commit to some really great Pikes Peak coverage this season, which is something I can do kind of exclusively, because I do this podcast here in Colorado. I mean, I'm literally looking at Pikes Peak. I could go drive to it here in 20 minutes if I wanted to. So, why can't I bring you some exclusive coverage that you're not really getting from anyone else? And I think I can do that, and I'm going to commit to that. And there'll be more news about that as the racing season gets closer to the summer, which is usually when they, tend to run that race. There's a lot of snow on the mountain right now. Just throwing that out there. They don't run that in the snow. You'll have that to look forward to, and I'm sure Paul won't be looking forward to me being there again and bugging him about, I don't know. I'll come up with something else stupid to ask him, like what kind of deodorant does he use? So anyway, hey, coming up in the next segment of the show, going to be talking not only about some really great things involving an AMC Pacer. I know that's kind of a contradiction, great things in an American Motors product, but I'm also going to be announcing this month's car giveaway winner, and that could be you. You got to stay tuned. That's coming up right here.
Did you know there's a rare but serious condition affecting 1 out of every million? Most are born with it, and despite decades of research, doctors struggle to find a cure. The truth is, thousands of people simply don't know what cars are. For those affected, things are grim, but recent developments show promising success. New clinical trials using breakthrough audio technology have shown a 69% improvement in patients with the most severe symptoms. Treatments vary, but one day we may see a cure. More information is available at throttlewarrior.com.
Yeah, those car sounds courtesy of Tim. That is his Chevy Nova. Nice, big, choppy cam for a really cool sounding idle. How cool is that? I have been called out on not including enough American classic muscle stuff. And so there you go. And thank you to Tim for sending that car sound into the show. And, that brings me to something, very special. It is the super special, very first introductory, inaugural, maiden voyage, whatever you want to call it. The very first car sounds giveaway. Yeah, no. So I started these car sounds as, sort of a way just to have, you interact with the show and me also be able to play cool car sounds, which is something I enjoy. Noise is such a big part of driving cars to me. And it's evolved into something a little more than that. Yes, you can send your car sounds in, but now this is also a way for you to have a chance to win some cool stuff. And I'm very proud to say that's something I can do now. Now, I've had a bunch of submissions over the past month and even more going back, and I have pooled all of those submissions together, every single person, into a giant bucket of names that I have drawn from the back of my crusty old AMC. You don't really want to know what's back there. It's nasty. But I have picked one winner at random to win a $25 parts store gift card and a freshly minted Automotive ADHD key tag. Yeah, here we go. I got one of them right here. Well, I mean, you can't see it, but this is on my keychain. Now, if you do want to see what this looks like, it's really cool. It's embroidered. It's really high quality. It seems like a nice, sturdy piece. And it's, most importantly, it says Automotive ADHD on it, which is really cool. And if you want to see what it looks like, I've got it up on the Automotive ADHD Facebook page right now. And, I promised something practical and I shall deliver on that, right? This key tag here, it's better than a t-shirt that keeps you warm or a hat that blocks the sun. No, you attach this thing to your keys and it looks cool. How practical is that? I love it. And actually it is sort of practical because I've had these key tags in different ones on my keychain for years. And I really like the ability to have something to grab onto when you pull your keys out of your pocket, and it's not something that's super long like a lanyard. I've never been a fan of having big lanyards on my keychains. So they're actually really cool. Again, you got to check it out if you want to see what this looks like on the Facebook page. And so this is cool. Now, before I actually announce the winner, I'm getting to it. I know. By the way, if you sent car sounds in and you regrettably don't win, that is okay. I am going to just keep using the same pool of entries. I'm not going to reset it at the end of the month. No, you're still entered. If you sent a sound in, you're still entered. You could win when I do the same drawing next month. But without further ado, I'm going to announce the winner. Let's get a drum roll, please. We don't have the drum roll sound effect. Okay, you know what? I'll just bang on the desk. Here we go. There we go. All right, Mr. Josh Maldonado, you have been chosen at random to win this fantastic piece of fabric that you attach to your keys, as well as a $25 gift certificate, which is cool. And I did this at random, but I'm actually really happy that Josh is the winner because he has been an OG of the show. He has been there since really early on, and he's been a constant and active contributor to the Facebook page and always sends me cool stuff. So I think there's no one better fitted to win this than you, Josh, and I'm going to reach out to you over direct message to get some more details so I can actually mail this stuff to you. And but before we do that, let's hear one of the car sounds that Josh sent in. Here we go. I'll roll that. Yeah, his 300 horsepower 2007 Acura TL Type S on the dyno. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. You can send your car sounds, again, facebook.com/automotive ADHD, matt@throttlewarrior.com. Now, speaking of that Facebook page, let's move on here. I posted about the Wayne's World AMC Pacer earlier this week. It was going up for auction. Well, that auction happened Wednesday. And it's a surprisingly high amount of money for a AMC Pacer. But if you're unfamiliar with the Wayne's World movie, it's a 1992 cult classic of a film with Michael Myers, same guy who was behind Austin Powers. He was also the voice of Shrek, that dude. And the movie also had rock star Alice Cooper in it. How cool is that? Now, a fun little story. I worked at a rock radio station a few years ago, and Alice Cooper came to town. And I have to say, he literally, like in person, he literally looks the same as he does in the movie. And the movie was filmed 30 years ago. Yeah. Yeah, he literally looks the same. Alice Cooper hasn't changed. He is immortal for all we know. So, but anyway, Michael Myers, his character Wayne, and his character's friend Garth, who was played by Dana Carvey, drive around in the movie in a 1976 AMC Pacer called the Mirthmobile. Yeah, it's this weird fishbowl-looking car that was made by my favorite car company, American Motors. And disclaimer, I currently own 2 AMC products. I might have an addiction. It's a nasty addiction. Trust me, you don't want to catch that one. But that said, AMC, it's a cool car company. It was the competitor to the big 3, Ford, Chevy, and Dodge back in the 70s through the 80s. And look, think of it now. No one's basically competing with them on the same level. Tesla's trying to. Rivian's trying to, which is impressive now. But for a very long time, there's been no competitors, American competitors to those big 3. And in the movie, the AMC Pacer was picked because it looked dorky and it was weird. And at the time, it was just a 16-year-old used economy car, much in the same way we now would look at a 2006 Civic. Basically the same thing, nothing special. Now, the cool thing about the actual car used in the movie is it was recently purchased and restored by the Pawn Stars guy, the Pawn Stars TV show, Rick Harrison. Fully restored it, and it even still has the in-dash cup dispenser and a ceiling licorice dispenser. Yeah, how cool is that? Now, the car sold for a total, by the way, of $71,500. Nope, they couldn't get the bid up to $72,000. $71,500. And honestly, that's a movie car bargain. Like, what other cool movie cars could you buy for less than $100,000? Like, seriously, try to buy a Fast and Furious car for less money than that. You can't do it. And that said, it might be a movie car bargain, but that's also an incredible amount of money to ask for a Pacer. I think the fact that it's an AMC product outweighs the fact that it's a movie car and is something special in that regard. It's still a clapped out old Pacer. And I can't talk much. My my American Motors Hornet was $600, and the $800 Stroker Jeep, which was also made by American Motors at the time, was, well, it was $800. That's why I call it that. But no, yeah, this $71,000 Pacer, way out of my budget. It is far from it, but maybe this will set a trend for classic AMCs. I feel like the big classic car craze totally passed up American Motors cars. Like, you know, old 70s Chevys, ton of money. Dodges, ton of money, unless it's a Dart. You know, and Fords too, like Mustangs, tons of money. And then there's American Motors, and they had cool cars. They had the Javelin. They had, I won't say the Pacer was, it was interesting. They had the Gremlin, which was cool. They had the Hornet. I mean, yeah, they had neat cars. They've never been a big part of the collector market, and maybe this will change things. Maybe one day my clapped out Hornet will sell for like $601. That's wishful thinking. So, but yeah, there you go. Wayne's World, fantastic movie, by the way. Just throwing that out there. It's a classic, definitely a cult film. Interesting humor. It is on my recommended list to you if you're looking for a not car movie, but a really cool movie to watch and you haven't seen it. Go check out Wayne's World. So now, before I wrap things up, I do have one more special announcement. I know, another one, right? Well, for Patreon members, and there are a few of you, and I want to thank each and every one of you, and also thank Renai, who just subscribed this week. I have some new stuff for Patreon members, starting with this episode. People on the Patreon, there's only one tier right now, keeping it simple, but people there will be able to get the show a day early. So you'll get it on Saturdays, where the show is regularly posted on Sundays for free listeners. And I'll also, on the Patreon, be able to feature some cool longer form interviews as kind of exclusives there. Interviews like Wesley Kagan's DIY Koenigsegg free valve, stuff with Obi-Wan Kenobi, any future stuff too. You know, as you may know, this show also airs on the radio, Southern Colorado, 91.7 KLZR. And as a result, I can't always do a 2-hour long, in-depth, Joe Rogan style interview. It's not always possible. So when I can, though, I'll be able to provide you some more exclusive stuff and some fun updates from the Barn Find 86 project. That's all going to be up on the Patreon. So you definitely want to check that out. And now, that said, this show will always remain free, though, and you can subscribe to it wherever fine podcasts and, this one are downloaded. And I will see you next week, same time, same place, when I learn why you shouldn't try to steal James Bond's car. I'll see you then.